you again for joining us for this session on values and splatter dots. So those of you that are familiar with the tool, we know that the splatter dots kind of identify pain points within our prospects reports, so areas that we can pay special attention to. We're very excited to have you guys again. I told a few of you already, this is a new software. There's a chat option, so feel free to send me your questions throughout. I'll be answering them as we go and bringing them up to Rebecca at the end. Do have a couple of announcements. If you are in San Diego, around San Diego, or will be in San Diego beginning of next month, we're hosting the IFA's FBN events, so the Franchise Business Network. We'd love to have you guys attend. It'll be April 6th, so if you have any questions about that, feel free to shoot me a message or a direct email. And again, as always, the sessions are recorded. So if you have to jump out, if there was an area that you missed or would like to review, I'll be sending the recording to you and the presentation later today. So thank you again for joining us. And I am going to pass this off to Ms. Rebecca Monet.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to have you guys here. We're getting between 70 and 100 participants in these monthly webinars, so that's letting us know that these are valuable to you, and our goal every month is to give you tidbits of information to help you close more deals and, as you know, do the right deals, the right prospect into the right franchise system. So today we're going to address something we haven't addressed before, or at least not as fully as we're going to do today, and that is the values and the splatter dots in particular. So just most of you that have been in sales of any type know that there really is no deal. There is no sale unless somebody has a pain, unless someone has a problem to solve. It doesn't matter what they're buying. In this case, hopefully a business that they're going to be looking at. But without pain, there's no gain. So our job as brokers and franchise development folks is to find out what those pain points are within our prospective franchisee, and then of course help them find a solution. And the solution, of course, is buying the right business for them. So that's what we do. The problem sometimes, of course, is we can't always get to the pain. There's a few reasons we can't get to the pain, and mostly it's because the prospect themselves may not reveal it for various reasons. First off, they might feel a little bit vulnerable by sharing with you, at least right up front, why they're looking for a business, what pain is driving them to look for something. Is it the fear of being downsized? Is it not feeling respected in the marketplace? Is it a concern about their age? Is it certain goals that they set for themselves a long time ago that they're not getting any closer to doing what they're currently doing? So not all of them will feel safe or vulnerable enough to open up to you to get to that pain. And yet without getting to that pain, it's difficult to move them into a business. So first off, we know it's possible they're just flat out not sharing it with you because of their own fear of being vulnerable. They're doing most of the conversations with you over the phone. They don't know you, you don't know them. It's going to take a little bit of time to build that kind of trust and that kind of safety. The second reason that they don't often share what the pain is, or you're not able to get to the pain, is because they're not able to articulate it. The pain is oftentimes an emotional one. It's not something that can be put into a wheelbarrow, so to speak. It's not a thing, it's an emotion. And this emotion is what's driving them to look at a way to solve this pain that they have a difficulty even describing what it is. All they know is there's some frustration or discontent or unhappiness or a lack of satisfaction or not feeling powerful. Something isn't right inside, but they don't know how to articulate it, nor do they know exactly how to solve that problem. So we're offering a little help from your friend Mo. What these splatter dots do is bring forth, it bubbles up and it begins to articulate what the pain is. So when you see splatter dots on your prospective franchisees SpotOn report, what you are getting is a single word that is a values word that begins to articulate what their pain is. Now, at this point, we still don't know exactly what they mean, in this case, by results, or what they might mean by success. But we know that's the feeling that they're not getting enough of. This is the thing that they're in search of. This is the thing that is prompting them to move in a direction of considering the purchase of a business. So let's look a little bit more deeply. We've studied in the past. Okay, Aubrey, is everybody able to hear me? I'm getting a couple text chats here that's saying there's some challenges. So let me double check and make sure it's working.
I had one person say that the volume was kind of low, but it's loud on my end. I hear audio is great. Sounds good here. So we should be okay.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you for double checking. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
So in the past, we've talked about values and what they are. Let's review just really quickly. Values are the things that cause us to make every decision. It's how we spend our time, money, and energy. The higher the value, the more effort we will put towards getting that value. Values are oftentimes completely unconscious, and yet they drive every single decision we make, from what time we get up in the morning to what clothes we put on our back, to what marital partner we choose, to what business we're going to buy. It will determine every single thing we do in life, and oftentimes these values are unconscious. So the SpotOn tool just brings those values forward and articulates them. Better yet, it articulates them in a hierarchy. This is the most important thing to this prospective franchisee. So in this case, what you're looking for is the number one value for this client is satisfaction. Number two is results. Number three, self-expression, and so forth, all the way down to number 7. So your goal is to find a business, or to show that your business is in alignment with those values. Remembering, people will fall over themselves. They will throw money at your feet in an effort to fulfill those values. We will do everything possible to have these highest values. So if your prospective franchisee can see that they can achieve those values within your business, they will do everything possible to purchase that particular business. So the SpotOn tool just brings those forward. So now let's look at the second piece. So what are these splatter dots? As Aubrey mentioned a little bit earlier, the splatter dots are conflicting values, or they're misaligned values. They're values which are askew in this person at this point, and that are exerting some kind of pain in your prospective franchisee. This is what's drawing extra attention in your prospect's life at this moment. This is the thing that's probably having them knock on your door and go out on the internet and looking for something to relieve this pain that they are suffering. So the more splatter dots, obviously, the more pain. So now, splatter dots are either askew, misaligned values, or they are conflicting values. Conflicting could be two values that are super important, but they're duking it out. So let me give you an example. So let's assume we have a value of family and relationship, and it's number 1 or number 2. And that's super important. The time we spend with our family, the time we spend in relationship And we may also have a value called success or money or freedom. And we can see that those can possibly conflict with this value of relationship and family. How can I build success and have some personal freedom and build this business when it possibly could be in conflict the time I want to spend going to Johnny's soccer game? So there's this duking out or this battling or this conflicting of two values. And the splatter dots will also show you that where the values they're clinging to, and the example I just gave, relationship or family, they're clinging to that. And at the same time, they may have this other value called power or money or success or results that is doing battle with that other value. And oftentimes when they're conflicting, and look at this in your own life, guys, when they're conflicting, it creates this state of confusion and frustration for your prospective franchisee. Worse, it can create a place of procrastination where they slow down that process. They get disoriented, they get distracted, they don't return your phone calls, they avoid you, they don't want to make a decision because there's this inner battle going on between these two very important values, and they don't know how to resolve them. It is our job as brokers and as franchise development folks to help them resolve this conflict. Show them how they can have both. Show them with a couple of course corrections, this conflict can go away. If you do not do that, the confusion will continue, the avoiding you, the procrastination will continue, and they will begin to self-sabotage, actually causing themselves to not get either of those values. Think of it as when you're dating two women, right? And both of them have these wonderful attributes, but you can't have both. And so the end result is what oftentimes happens is you get neither one. And that's what oftentimes happens with these conflicting values that show up as splatter dots is they're fighting out and the prospect doesn't know how to go about having both, bringing peace amongst those two conflicting values. One that maybe says, I want freedom and I want independence, and another one that says, I want power and I want success, and I don't see how I can have freedom and success at the same time. Oftentimes this could be a belief that's conflicting also, as you can probably tell. But bottom line, the splatter dot can be a conflicting value, and it's our job to determine what that conflict is and help our prospective franchisee move through that as effectively as possible. Secondly, it can just be an askew or misaligned value where it is something that's just current that's going on in my life and it popped up. I used to call these lost sheep. And it comes from the story my father used to tell as a pastor of the sheep that wanders off into the mountains, and the shepherd has not, 100 sheep, but there's one that's wandered off, and that shepherd goes in search of that one. And I remember thinking in that story, why in the world would I leave my 99 to go after the one? But that's exactly what happens with values. When you understand your prospective franchisee's values, if there's one that's popped up, one that's gone askew, one that's wandered off, one that's become more important, your prospective franchisee will put everything else on hold and go after that one crazy value. Now, when that happens, your job is to find, is this simply a misaligned value? Something currently going on in this prospective franchisee's life that we need to realign to help them find the right business. Let me give you a crazy example. So let's say somebody loses their job. They've been downsized for whatever reason. We're starting to see that in the airline industry. We're starting to see that in the oil industry right now. So all of a sudden, this security value pops up. It was not a value prior when I had security in a 9-to-5 job and a future that looked really bright. But now I've lost my job. This security button, this security value pops up, and it's starting to create some disharmony, and it's having me distracted and going in search of something that may not be good for me. Okay, so that's the second thing that could happen with these splatter dots, is it could be a misaligned, askew, or something that's just taking current precedence, but it is not truly who they are. We still, of course, want to address it and show them that the business we're making available to them could help them address that, in this case, security issue. So aligned value create a feeling, it's an actual visceral feeling in your prospective franchisee where they feel life is congruent. They are living a life that's congruent with their values, they're in harmony, and it also builds confidence. And it's this confidence that we need to help them move to the next step and make a decision and take some level of action. So let me show you a few examples, okay? So here's an example of a prospective franchisee who has 3 splatter dots. Splatter dot: fun, security, and freedom. Now please notice that these dots are by size and in order of what the hierarchy of values are. So fun is the number 2 value. Security, the number 3 value. And freedom here, a smaller dot, is number 6. So what's exerting energy here is fun, security, and freedom to a lesser extent. Now the 7 values are super important, but the 2 most important that are askew or misaligned and or conflicting is communicating to you through the SpotOn profile report. So now we can look at this. Okay, we got fun, security, and freedom that are popping up. We don't know if these are misaligned or these are conflicting. We can make some guesses, right? The possibility that it's hard to have security and fun at the same time. At least that's what most of us Americans believe, that to have fun doesn't mean I'm really working. Security might mean I have a 9 to 5. So this is possibly a conflicting value. Same way with this freedom. Can I have security, fun, and freedom all at the same time? If I can show them a business that does all of these things, then yes, I can have that. But you can see this is what's causing them pain. This is what's having them currently look for a business. They're going to look for a business that gives them the control, effectiveness, satisfaction, but the pain point that's going to drive them to a decision is, I am looking for a business that lets me finally have some fun and some freedom, but at the same time provides me the security that I've become accustomed to in other scenarios. So our job is to look at these and spend some time with them and helping them articulate. Now remember, this is a single word. I don't know what that prospective franchisee means by fun. I don't know what he means by freedom. That's going to be your job to dig in. I'm going to show you a couple techniques to do that, to dig in and find out what they mean. Because if you can find out what it means, then when you find that the right way to present your opportunity or several opportunities, you can do so where it resonates for them. So let's look at another example. Here's a prospective franchisee who has a value of impact, effectiveness, and satisfaction that is askew at this point. So this is value number 2, number 5, and number 7. So not as much pain as what we saw with the prospect just a minute ago, but still 3 askew, misaligned, painful values that have come into light at this point, which is driving this prospective franchisee to entertain the idea of some business ownership. So we're going to have to know, what does this prospective franchisee mean by impact? Can they have an impact by owning this business? Can we show them they're going to make a difference at the community level with children or people or in society? What does impact mean to them? Help them articulate it. These words simply allow you to begin to have the conversation with them. Mr. Jones, tell me, there's a couple of values that are misaligned, and I want to do the best I possibly can to put you in the right business, or to make sure this is the right business for you. And I'm noticing a couple of things that are really important to you. Could you talk to me about it? What does the word impact mean to you? What does it mean to be effective, or to have a feeling of satisfaction? Can you describe that to me? Let's move on to another example. Now, here's an example where there's an incredible amount of pain that's going on. So we have 4 of the 7 dots that are splatter dots. And we notice that number 1 team is a splatter dot. Now, you'll see this occasionally. It doesn't happen, often. But just remember, we will do whatever it takes to have our top values. So in this case, the number 1 value is team, and it is missing. I would be asking this prospective franchisee, what do you mean by team? Tell me about times when you've had that feeling of team. Tell me what that might look like in a franchise. How will you know when you have it? How do you know when you don't have it? I'd be asking him some questions about what that looks like, because the word team, or the word freedom, or the word safety, or the word independence are all words that you can't put in a wheelbarrow. It is a term that is much more general for a feeling, and pain is indeed a feeling. So ask them, what is independence? What does that look like? And then begin to craft your messaging around those pains. Mr. Prospect, let me show you this business and how our franchisees are able to build this team, not only at their local level with their employees as well as their customers, but also this feeling of team you're going to have within our franchise system. Begin to talk about it. So this is a ton of pain. This person will jump off a cliff if you don't help them find a business. This is someone that's going to do something, and hopefully nothing stupid, instead that they will choose the right business for themselves. So let's move on to a couple other examples. So if we're looking at these 2, we notice that both of them have 2 pain points: contribution and recognition, and then the second one, freedom and independence. So the first one, desiring to make a bigger contribution. I don't know what that looks like, but definitely they want to make a bigger impact, make a difference at some level. And at the same time, they're looking for some recognition. This does not invalidate everything else they want: power, respect, dependability, loyalty, and achievement. But the 2 that are causing particular pain is contribution and recognition. The second group, freedom and independence, are the 2 power points. So you can quickly see the bigger pain is this one. The higher the value, the greater the pain, the greater the motivator, the greater the desire to acquire that particular thing. So even though contribution is the same in terms of the values, both number 1, the first prospect has a greater degree of pain than the second prospect. Let me give you 2 kind of squirrely, goofy ones that might be going on here that you get. Here's 2 examples of prospective franchisees that have only 1 splatter dot. And in this case, it's respect, which is number 4. And Gail is already sort of figuring this out pretty quickly. We notice this guy is a societal belonger. Respect as a whole is something societals naturally receive. It is not something that they go in search of, nor is it something a belonger typically misses or longs for or has any pain around. An achiever or an emulator will occasionally have some pain around respect. So here is a societal who should be normally receiving a certain level of respect who is not feeling respect. So we have to ask, what caused this? What's going on in your life? Is it a spouse that's not respecting his or her decision? Is it some disrespect he's receiving from his co-workers that is stimulating enough pain that he's about to say, I'm out of here, I'm going to go buy a business? And the more you know about that pain, the more connection and trust you're going to build between yourself and that prospective franchisee. This is you getting to know them at a deep and meaningful level. And if you understand them like they don't understand themselves, they will trust you through that process, through that sales process. Also remember, as they are sharing these darker secrets, their tender underbelly, they are building an intimacy and a connection with you that will take them through that process. That they say, I trust you with my fears, I trust you with my pain, therefore I also trust you to help me to make wise and informed decisions about what franchise system is right and best for me. Here's what I thought I would pull up. This is an emulator achiever with a single splatter dot, again, number 4, that is askew, and this is knowledge. When you see this, and this is not always so, it's going to be your job to dig in and see, it's not uncommon for an emulator who oftentimes operates from places of fear of failure, fear of being embarrassed, fear of doing something that would show that he's in any way inadequate. It's not uncommon for an emulator to have knowledge as a splatter dot. This does not mean they're interested in an educational business or a tutoring business or that they're interested in an incredible amount of knowledge. Oftentimes what this means, and you're going to have to check with them, is that they don't want to make a boo-boo. So gathering a lot of information, gathering a lot of knowledge gives them a level of confidence that they don't naturally have. So if I know this is right and best for me, I have that level of knowledge, then I can feel good about and confident about making this decision to go in this business. So don't assume that's that all the time. I'm only pointing it out because this is oftentimes a pattern that we will see with someone with a very high emulator score. All of a sudden you got this squirrely knowledge value, which is not an emulator value, pop up, and it's usually just showing a level of insecurity. And as brokers and franchise development folks, we're going to help them feel safe and confident that they're making the right and best choice for themselves. So sometimes nothing's broken, right? Sometimes there are no splatter dots. This does not mean there's no pain. It just means the pain isn't in the top 7 values. But we know a sale is done when there's a problem to solve. So it's our job to dig in and see if we can find pain that's not immediately surfacing. So I would still spend time asking about these values. Mr. Jones, it looks like you like a good challenge and you like a certain level of freedom and independence. Can you talk to me a little bit more about what that might look like in a business? What is a challenge to you? What would be boring to you? What would feel like you were trapped and didn't have the level of freedom you want? Talk to me about independence. Begin to ask. You're going to find kind of tiny little grains of pain within that. If you don't get it from that point, then you're going to obviously want to go towards leveraging the dots in terms of the value. So now you're going to use more the carrot, show them where they can have more challenge, more results, more achievement, more freedom than what they are experienced. That alone, where more versus less could create a degree of pain. So yes, you got challenged today. Yes, you're doing great results today. Yes, you have great accomplishment today. Well, imagine in 5 years having more, having additional. That a differential will create a certain place of pain. So how do we get them to talk about their pain? So that's the goal you're wanting to do, is to get them to start to talk about their pain. The splatter dots simply give you the word, the trigger point to encourage that conversation. As you get them to talk, they will open up that tender underbelly, and there'll be an intimacy and a trust and a safety created between the two of you, where they then know they are in good hands to move them through that process. So get them to talk about their pain and their problems. I know it's not fun to listen to that, but trust me, you will do more deals when you build this level of intimacy and connection with your prospective franchisee. So how do you get them to tell you about their pain and their problems, besides just saying, oh, Mr. Prospect, I noticed you have a splatter dot, freedom. Tell me about freedom. Oh, well, yeah, I just want to be able to clock in when I want and clock out when I want. I want somebody breathing down my neck. Is that enough? Is that enough? So sometimes the best way to get them to open up and to recognize their pain is for you to tell them your own story, how you chose to do what you did, or times when you've experienced similar kinds of pain. Or tell the story of some clients, prospects you've worked with in the past, of pain they've gone through, the downsizing they've gone through, how they disappointed their children and their spouses by not stepping out and taking risks, how they gave up everything, to travel and be in a job, and in the end lost everything, their spouses, their children, their sense of family. Tell some stories. Tell some real stories. And if you're brand new in this role as a broker or franchise development person, borrow some stories. Find some stories, ideally stories that have the same pain points as your prospect has. Have them in a file where you can literally go through, okay, here's the two splatter dots. Let me find 2 or 3 stories of people with similar splatter dots, and just tell the story. And you'll begin to see they can relate and step into the shoes of that main character, and they begin to tell you their own stories. This will help them open up and allow you to, pour a little salt in that wound and leverage that wound just a little bit to move them into a business. As they are sharing and talking, please take some notes, copious notes. I know some of you are talkers, as am I, but have a notepad with you. Don't be clicking on your computer while you're on the phone, but write things down. Try to write them down in the exact syntax and same verbiage that they are using. Because at some point on that 5th call, that 6th call with them, when you need to leverage that particular splatter dot, that particular pain, if you use the exact same words, the same intonation, the same phrasing that they've used, it will trigger in them that pain that they want to move away from and that they want to solve. So again, ask them, what is freedom? What does independence? What does success? What does contribution? What does family? What does relationship? What does this mean to you? Talk to me. What does it look like? What is it not? Tell me about times you've experienced this same feeling, the same emotion. And again, you're going to do it in a professional way, in a way that's conversational. How have you experienced this in the past? And you are taking copious notes, and you're going to bring that memory back up to them. Mr. Jones, remember when you told me about that time you missed your oldest daughter's prom, or whatever it is? Do you really want to do that again? Do you really want to experience that again? Isn't it time you took a look at something that allowed you to set your own schedule? Whatever it is, You're going to collect their stories. You're going to collect their words and their phrasing of what is causing them pain. And when and if it is necessary, and it will be, you're going to use those back to them, reminding them that they came to see you because they had pain, and that your job is to help them relieve that pain, and to ignore it in no way gets them further down that path. So you're going to regularly remind them, remember why you came? Here's what I'm here to help you with. And here's what you told me. And here's what I know about you. And here's the truth. You can do this. So don't be a crocodile. Listen like you've never listened before, not just for the words, but the intonation. Notice when they slow down and they speed up. Notice when their voice cracks just a little bit. Notice when they have to ponder and think harder about something. And they typically will. When they're talking about values, especially painful values, it's harder to get to those. It's usually covered with a lot of fluff and a lot of overconfidence and a lot of smoke and screens, right? Smoke and mirrors, rather. So it's your job to just listen, pause, let them speak, have your ears be big and your mouth be small, and allow them to keep on talking, and then take notes. And you will have ammunition down the road to help them move through this process. So the way you can do that is to be authentic and real and approachable yourself. You have to provide a safe space. This is a big decision they're making. This is not they're buying a pair of socks to go with that new suit. They are making a big decision. They need to see you as a trusted confidant, a trusted advisor, and not as a salesperson, someone they can talk to about anything. So you need to be real. You need to be vulnerable yourself and authentic yourself, and allow them to open up and show you their vulnerabilities also. And I know most of you do this beautifully, and this is nothing more than just a subtle reminder to continue to do what you're doing so well. This level of empathy will reassure your candidate and will help them build the confidence that they need to make the step-by-step actions that is required to get to a final decision. It will also have them feel that you are their advocate. You are not a sales person. They know you're selling, but they also want to know that they can trust you to do what's right by them. That this is not about the commission or putting numbers on the board, but you're doing what is right and best by them. So guys, I'm about to wrap up here. I want to make sure you're putting your questions in the text chat for Aubrey to moderate here in just a little bit. But just a couple of more things. When you first go into the SpotOn report, on the summary page, you'll notice kind of just a simple splatter dot and 5 words over here. Many of you have gotten so good at this SpotOn report that you're not even reading the rest of the report. You're just going to that summary page, getting what you need, and moving on. And I think that's fabulous. Those of you that are still new, continue to read. But I wanted to show you a little hint in the summary page. In the summary page, if you're wanting to figure out what the splatter dots are, because you notice the words aren't there, it will always be the italicized words. So in this case, we got 2 splatter dots and 2 italicized words, security and results. So you'll know instantly those are the 2 splatter dots that you're dealing with. Same way here, we got 3 splatter dots, and we notice the 2 of the 3 are marked up here with results and achievement. The smaller one here is number 7, and it wouldn't be on there. So you're going to want to have to scroll to get down below. So in review, values, when in conflict, let's say that security versus success will cause your prospect to slow down, to hesitate, to sabotage, to procrastinate, to feel frustrated. And you've all experienced that to some degree with your prospects, where all of a sudden they're sort of disappearing and avoiding you. This is usually a sign of a conflicting value. Go back to that spot on report, see if you can discover uh, what that conflict is, and go back in there and discuss it with them. Values, when aligned, will cause people to take action. So just know if something is askew, it's going to slow down the process. The minute you align those values with a business or 2 or 3 businesses, if you're a broker, that aligns with those values, your candidate is going to quickly go through the process. But if that business does not align with their values, they're going to feel confused and conflicted. So make sure you show them how your business or these businesses are in alignment with their values. So you want to do more deals? Do exactly that. Align your prospects' values with business opportunities that echo who they are, those top 7 values, and then leverage their splatter dots. So now many of you are saying, okay, how do I leverage the splatter dots? We know, I think it was a couple of sessions ago, we did a meta program class for you called Carrot or Stick. Go back and listen to that. So if you're needing to leverage those values, obviously you're going to remind them of those pain points. But you're also going to use either the carrot or the stick. You're either going to pour salt into that pain to create the wound, additional pain, or you're going to add a carrot that's dangling in front of them, things that they're looking forward to, that they're going to have more the rewards, the benefits, those goals. Or here's what you're getting away from a boss that's breathing down your neck, or from insecurity, or from not being in control of your lives. Okay, Aubrey, let me open it up to any kinds of questions.
So the first question that came in was from Gail, and you kind of touched on it earlier, but I don't know if you want to revisit. It was about the belonger, and it said their number 1 value is success. If they're a belonger and their number 1 value is success, are they in conflict?
Yes. That would be a number 1 value, success, and a belonger is indeed a conflict or a misalignment of some sort. Now, if you go back to the bar graphs, if you notice the achiever number is very, very close to the belonger number, then it's likely not as big of a conflict. But Gail is right. If number 1 value is success and that's a belonger, that would be a misalignment or a conflict of some sort. So we would want to ask what does success mean to them. Success might simply mean more time with their family. That may be what it means. To us, it might mean, money in the bank, but to a belonger, it might mean I have freedom to take my family on vacation. I don't need a ton of money. I just need to know I can take my kids fishing in Alaska or something of that nature. It's a good question.
Okay, and Steve had a quick question about the S&M. So that's with the meta programs. I don't know if we want to touch on that really fast, Steve. I'll absolutely send you some links to training on that as well. But Rebecca, if you want to touch really quick.
Yeah, I'll touch on it really quick. The S and the M stand for a small comfort zone versus a medium comfort zone. Then there's a large and there's an extra large. The bigger the comfort zone, the harder it is for someone to move. So just know that people move when they are uncomfortable. So if you have a huge comfort zone, you're not likely to take action. So our job as brokers or franchise development folks is to bring that comfort zone down as small as possible so they take quicker action. And we do that by dangling a carrot and pouring salt in the wound.
Perfect. And like I said, Steve, I'll get you that. And then Debbie had a question. She said, Splatter dot conflicts may be from something happening now or deep rooted. So should we ask questions to determine which? And then is the approach different depending on the two?
You know what, Debbie, that's a really good point. We actually had that happen on someone we did a review, and the splatter dot, there was a couple splatter dots, but one that came up was knowledge. And fortunately, we had really good rapport with this individual, and we talked about knowledge. And it was, just as you said, a deeply rooted issue that went back to stepbrother and him. And stepbrother was much smarter and had incredible education and success, and he never had that. He always felt he was in competition with his stepbrother. So the way he felt safe and secure or confident was to constantly be reading and gathering knowledge. And yet, by gathering all this knowledge, he wasn't getting anything accomplished. He was too busy making sure he knew everything. He almost became a perfectionist. And there's others that are similar. So yes, they can definitely be deeply rooted issues, which requires incredible trust between you and that candidate. And don't be afraid. I know, guys, you're sometimes afraid of those emotions that you might get from your prospect. But I can tell you, when somebody opens up to you this way, you have a forever friendship, and they are going to trust you with that secret and with that pain. Think of times when you have shared something with someone, something you were afraid of. That relationship forever changes. So be okay. So to Debbie's point, yes, sometimes they're deeply rooted, and sometimes they're just currently askew, lost sheep. And the only way for you to know is to take time and talk to them about it. You can make some guesses, like I made with the emulator with the acknowledgement issue. That was an example of simply a deeply rooted issue. It was not askew, it was not misaligned, it was a deeply rooted issue that was going to continue to show its head and prevent him from ever having the success he wanted until he handled that issue. Other times, it's just misaligned, it's askew, and you can help them get it in line and find a business that's right. I hope that answered the question, Debbie.
Right, and I'm going to just add something to that really quick, too. People will respond really differently to those. You know, some people will jump in right away. I've had, you know, people get emotional and start crying with me just when I mention what a splatter dot generally means without even asking a question yet. So you'll see a variety of responses to splatter dots. And then we had, sorry, let me pull this tool up again. So one of the things, and I told, you know, Andrew, we can talk about this, but getting people to take the profile, do you have a recommendation on that, Rebecca? Because one of the things when I'm talking to our consultants and our franchisors, really just insisting that this is part of your process, because understanding the prospect as a whole is what the tool's for. So making sure that we're finding a business for them based on compatibility versus, you know, pulling it out of thin air. That's really been a helpful driver. Do you have any other tips for that?
You know what? I would love to do a panel discussion with brokers and franchise development folks that are doing this successfully, Andrew, because you know, obviously this is not a marketing tool. It is a sales tool. It's a qualification tool. It's a support tool. So it does require some upfront getting someone committed enough just to take it. So we may want to think about doing a panel discussion of how others are doing that, because I really don't know, other than what you said, Aubrey, in that, you know, communicate clearly to your prospective franchisee how committed you are to doing what is right and best by them. And that includes getting to know them even better than they know themselves, so you can align them with what's right, including, if you're a franchisor, your own concept. I want to know you're a good fit. So that would be my suggestion, Aubrey, is that we
right, and that's what I get from the guys. So I just wanted to touch guys and gals, excuse me. And then just a couple quick things from a few of our participants. Carlos mentioned, you know, with the franchisors, using the SpotOn research that we're doing right now for identifying your top performers. That's still going, you know, and that'll really help the brokers with matching to the system. And as always, if you have questions about, you know, something that you see on a profile, you know, you have a quick question, always reach out to myself or Rebecca, because we're here to help you guys. But it looks like for now, that was the questions everybody had. Oh, there's one more bleeping. Yeah, and so
Aubrey,
we have.
Aubrey, I wanted to back up. For those that are here, franchisors that have not participated in the research for the SpotOn match, this is invaluable to both you and to any brokers that you are working with. If we know who your ideal candidate is based on scientific, statistically validated information by looking at your current franchisees, we would like to provide that to franchise brokers so they can help bring you the right candidate. So do reach out to Aubrey or myself or any of these brokers here and ask about it. We'd love to have you be part of that research.
But if that is all the questions we have for today, as a reminder, I will be sending this recording out to everyone, also with the presentation notes. Thank you for trying out this new software with us. We will more than likely be back on GoToWebinar next time. But thank you again for spending an hour with us. As always, have questions or comments, send them off to us because we love to hear and help. So with that being said, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and we will see you on our next call.
Thank you, guys.